look like we're making the playoffs. There just ain't no way now. So signing him, he can play in AHL right away. So. Yeah, well, stats to be the backup. I am probably up there.
Czechoslovakia on one time, so this was behind the Iron Curtain. Now, the Statue brothers, they got out from behind that Iron Curtain, they were buckled out, and the Detroit Red Wings, as early as 1984, were trying to formulate a plan to smuggle out Peter Clinton, and the way to do it was going away to national team friends, and then basically have the mission. And so that's what ends up happening. It is December of 1985, the Wings smuggled out. They got out. And this is what they were able to do. This was dangerous work. You get caught doing this, there's a serious stuff, right? I mean, the Czechoslovakia, yeah, it was not easy. So while we can look back down and say, probably fine, probably no big deal. First season in the National Hockey League, we showed goal scoring. 74 games, 32 goals, 24 assists, 56 points. He finished with 7th and probably lower. The one thing with Peter Clayman is all goals. All goals all the time. Defense, kick, and this was the other comment I'm thinking was his consistency. So 86, 87, 77 games played, 30 goals, 23 assists, 53 points. In the playoffs, he had goals, 2 assists, and 3 points in the game. This is where the Detroit started to get better. And so Peter Clayman was a part of that. 87, 88, 78 games played, 37 goals, 25 assists, 52 points. And all playoff games, 10 goals, 8 assists, 8 points. Now, this is where time takes to start. Peter Clayman and Bob Probert are roommates. Now, Bob Probert, you know that he has substance abuse problems, and for Peter Clayman, it's been a lot of drinking. So, September 23rd, 1980, the Wings suspended both Peter Clayman and Bob Probert for violation of team rules. Going out of time on practice, all that sort of stuff. And they vowed not to play Clayman until he had a drinking under control. And they actually publicly said it worse than they. So there was a lot of anger with the Detroit Red Wings organization. Some of it may have been born out of hate. We pulled this guy from Czechoslovakia, and now he's suffering in his career with the Rock White Cap. Now, to his credit, he did pass whatever test they gave him. He did rejoin the team. And in his first practice with the team, he apologized to all the teammates. And that was only the first practice, and he did manage to stay clean. So while Bob Probert's story has this bad end, Peter Clayman was able to avoid some of the demons that fell Bob Probert. 1889, Peter Clayman, 51 games played, 25 goals, 41 points. So once he got the line up his back, goal scoring effect. There's almost, every other game he counts a goal. In the playoffs, 6 games played, 2 goals scored, 6 points. 89-90, 13 games played, straight 5 goals, 5 goals, 10 points. And then they traded over a year after they sent him. November 2nd, they traded with Adam Trade, Joe Murphy, and Jack Garland in exchange for a 1991 fifth, Jimmy Carson and Kevin McLeod. Detroit really wanted to get Carson. Carson really wanted to go to Detroit. In the end, I'm going to go ahead and say that trade was not favored. Detroit absolutely favored that. Detroit team was a lot of strength, a lot of coffee. Some of those were key guys from the dynasty, and so adding fresh blood like Ray, Double, clean it all up. So 63 games of the Williams Dynasty, 25 goals, 20 assists, 56 points. It stands out to more assists than goals here. As maybe this is the team that's trying to do the thing. But once he gets to the playoffs, there's a lot of frustration in the playoffs. And he ends up riding the pine for part of the first game of the Stanley Cup Final. First Stanley gets nervous because he's passing there, and he's sitting there, and everybody's out there busting their humps trying to get this game over with. I thought, let's put Clayman in, it could be ugly. And it was. At 15-13, overtime. And all he hit the ice, and he just goes through everybody. And he scored. So it's a 3-2 overtime win. It was 1 against Columbus. He had lost. He did not look back. He went to the top. Over the 21 games that he played, he only recorded 5 goals. That overtime game was absolutely famous. One of the most famous overtime goals. To that stage, I'm going to say it's Stanley Cup Final history.
Yeah, you definitely set me up for the real world.
The fast-paced, jam-packed course structure teaches you how to listen quickly.
Actually knowing your instructor and being able to engage with them.
As a person who likes hands-on training as opposed to more theoretical, that is, I don't know where it ranks now, but still for me, 95 points. Remember, it's your goal. 95-96 shows that. 68 games, 32 goals, 15 assists, 48 points. And then on June 16th, the episode is traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning in game 4 in 1994 to the Sabers. So think about it. This is a guy who scored 13 goals. I know goal scoring is up compared to where it is now. I think he's equivalent like a 25 goal scorer. I don't think he's traded. So this is a guy too that when I look at his goal total here, I think myself, he was maybe in that first 3 years. That's the contract. Having scored 9 goals that first year. He's like $8 million a year in today's market. Like it is a lot of money. And again, he is a one-dimensional player. The defense not there, but you're looking for the intensity, that physical intensity, not really there either. So his cap at 93-94, he's looking for goals to get that. He played 75 games, 28 goals, 27 assists, 65 points. 94-95, lost that first season here, 47 games, 13 goals, 13 assists, 26 points. This is the first season where we're starting to see the goal tank sort of drop, right? 95-96, 67 games played. 42 goals, 30 assists, 52 points. Again, the points per game is good. In the playoffs, he gets 2 goals in 4 games. Not bad. However, on August 22nd, he traded by the Tampa Bay Lightning to the LA Kings in exchange for a 1997 So, yeah, that's the interesting thing. The 22-point guy, 53-point guy in their life now will give up for a fifth on that. So it is he goes to LA. Does not last in LA. This is 4 assists and a -7. So A-7 and A plus-minus does not indicate how good a player is over an entire season. But if over an 8-game period a guy's -7, it might cause some concern, right? So he traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins on October 25th for futures. So he's gone from being worth a third in 1994 to being worth a fifth in 1997. And during that same season, he traded for futures. Pittsburgh plays him 9 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, and they release him. So, February 26th of 1997, he is signed as a free agent by the Edmonton Oilers. Back to Edmonton he goes. The Oilers looking for some goals, looking for some points. They're an underdog at this stage. So he can get his goal scoring back. Well, he doesn't. 16 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. 6 games in the playoffs, no points there. And the Oilers would then release him from his contract. So 97-98, he goes over and plays in Europe. 98-99, January 11th, the Detroit Red Wings, who are, thinking things over, and they've won a couple of Stanley Cups. They're probably thinking, we might as well give Peter Queen another chance. It's going to hurt. So they signed him as a free agent on January 11th. He only plays 13 games for Detroit, records 1 goal, and it just wasn't working. So what you're dealing with is guys who are goal scoring with the defensive issues. The guy gets older, he gets slower. It doesn't work out. So at the end of his career, 786 games played, 313 goals, 260 assists, 573 points. In the playoffs, 95 games, 28 goals, 24 assists, 52 points. The totals are there. The offense is there, but again, the defensive issues and the consistency are why he ended up moving around as much as he did in his career. And it is one of those things where kind of he had that intensity. If he had that intensity, he could have been a 40 goal scorer on the year. He wouldn't have had the 140 something. The talent is there. And so, yeah, your goal scorer. That's how I still feel. Your goal scorer. And there are some drawbacks to that. If your talent is there, you can't have the defensive intensity of the players. Extra special opportunities day. Every player comes with a much-needed show stuff. Every visit you buy it, participating locations, net proceeds will be donated to your local children's hospital foundation. Thursday, August 11th.
You want to stop a store that helps local communities, donates tech to people in need, and is committed to.
I was wondering if you might recognize a girl in this photograph. Sorry to apologize. Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're ranking every main protagonist in the Resident Evil series. It's going to be dangerous from here on in. Why don't you cooperate?
Cooperate with you?
For this list, we'll be looking at the characters that have featured as lead roles within the main live Resident Evil games. These are based on their character arcs, their contributions to the plot, and why they're so popular. Which Resident Evil protagonist do you think is a cut above the rest? Let us know down in the comments. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our newest videos. Steve Burnside.
Relax, people. I said I was sorry. My name's Steve.
The main aspect of Claire Redfield's partner in Resident Evil Code Veronica is his massive crush on her. Imprisoned in the Rockport Island facility, Steve searches for his father and teams up with Claire. He can be an annoying person to have around, as Steve keeps trying to flirt with Claire, who is unreceptive to charm.
But I found something, thanks to you. Looks cool, huh?
Oh, I need those. Give them to me.
After being forced to kill his infected father, Steve is eventually infected himself, which at least gives him an arc where he sacrifices himself to avoid taking Claire's life. Although we do feel sorry for the young man's tragic story, he never really helps Claire in a big way, and his demise doesn't have much of an emotional impact.
I love you. Claire.
Helena Harper.
Slow you down. Just go.
Much like Steve Burnside, Helena is like a tag-along partner looking for their family member. Forced to partake in the assassination of the president with his sister held hostage, Helena teams up with Leon to make up for her role in the villainous plot. Although she's a playable character, Helena suffers from a lack of chemistry with Leon. That's what you wanted to show me?
No.
Unlike the likes of Claire and Ada Wong, the plot doesn't really create a deep connection between Helena and Leon, and she comes across as a secondary protagonist at that. Since she was also forced to create the C virus, Helena had too many skeletons in the closet to truly feel like a hero. Okay, enough with the mystery. What the hell is going on here?
Let's just get her out of here.
Moira Burton.
We've been friends for how long? Long enough that I'm allowed to give you shit.
The daughter of series veteran Barry Burton, Moira starts out as a rather stereotypically foul-mouthed youngster. Unlike the rest of the protagonists, Moira has a fear of guns and uses a range of melee weapons to defend herself. As Claire's companion in Resident Evil Revelations 2, Moira's purpose is to contrast with her sure-footed partner.
My name is Moira Burton. My coworkers and I were taken here against our will.
It can get frustrating to put up with Moira's constant mood swings, but it's part of the character's development to mature out of her father's shadow. Moira's lack of ability with firearms doesn't make her very user-friendly, as players would be inclined to control a protagonist that makes them feel empowered. It definitely takes a while to get accustomed to Moira's bravado, but we can appreciate her arc of learning to step up for a fight.
Claire, we lost the girl.
Billy Cohen.
It's gonna be dangerous from here on in. Why don't we cooperate?
Cooperate with you?
Among the more secretive protagonists in the series, the main appeal behind Billy is the uncertainty of his past. He's introduced as a former Marine Corps lieutenant sentenced for execution until Raccoon City's events lead to his freedom and team up with Rebecca Chambers. Initially resigned to his fate and a cynical personality, Forming a partnership with Rebecca to survive changes Billy's outlook.
Are you alright? Hey, you managed to stop the train.
Yes, we managed.
He's a character who carries an aggressive style of combat, not wanting to give the zombies any chance of hurting him or Rebecca. Billy's gruff exterior gradually wears off as he bonds with his partner, with players encouraged to accept his claims of being falsely accused. He doesn't have as much staying power as several other protagonists because of his one-off appearance, but Billy does hold interest during the events of Resident Evil Zero.
Officially, Lieutenant Billy Cohen is dead.
Yeah, just a zombie now.
Sherry Birkin.
There has to be a way out of here.
The daughter of infected scientist William Birkin, Sherry is rescued by Claire in Resident Evil 2, where she bonds with her and Leon. Sherry's a character fans can easily sympathize with, as she's caught up with the Raccoon City fiasco that her father is responsible for. Although we do play as Sherry in self-made sequences, she doesn't become a protagonist of her own right until Resident Evil 6.
No, listen, those things that attacked us. They were all exposed to a new virus called the Sabers.
She's brave both as a child and as an anti-bioterrorism operative as an adult, but Sherry needs quite a lot of saving each time. We don't get to see Sherry further than being a rookie, which doesn't make her a threat. Still, her tenacity can be appreciated for the way she finds ways that she gets in plot, whether it's aiding Claire or taking up with Jake Paul. Jake Paul. The third main protagonist of Resident Evil 6 takes the issue himself while not people like his father, Jake starts out looking out only for himself, not caring about the effects of the C virus throughout the world. It can be difficult for fans to connect with his some things like money and having fun wreaking havoc on the infected. But his pairing with Sherry has an equally family history and paves the way for Jake to try and do better. Jake's specialized blood offers him heightened abilities, which makes his campaign interesting for those who want a unique playthrough, but can alienate longtime fans that value the classic Resident Evil experience. You're Sabers.
Who the hell are you? Pierce Gibbons?
Chris's partner in the second campaign of Resident Evil 6, Pierce is a BSAA agent who tries to find confidence in the dark atmosphere of the series. Very likable and a loyal friend, Pierce stays by Chris's side, offering him the devotion he needs during the latter's successful stage.
Take me back, Captain. One way or another.
Unfortunately for the character, he's stuck in the most uninviting playthrough of Resident Evil 6, as the gameplay is basically a run-and-gun shooter with little depth into how Pierce functions in combat. During the times the story does slow down, Pierce encourages Chris to keep fighting and sacrifices himself to save his friend's life. With just one appearance, there's not as much about Pierce to cover as we'd like. He is a contender for the nicest hero in the series.
Suck it up, Vic. Sorry, sir. Shiva Alabama.
Welcome to Africa. My name is Shiva Alabama.
Chris Redfield.
Shiva is Chris's partner in Resident Evil 5 and proves to be a valuable ally within the story. She's instrumental in helping Chris recover Jill Valentine from Alpha Western control, stopping Wester's master plan. While her AI within the gameplay can be clunky at times, Shiva is far from a burden that other companions like Ashley in Resident Evil 4 were.
Wait, because...
Please, we're making fast. We can't afford to let him get away. So keep in mind, we are the station. Over and out.
This is insane!
While she doesn't have the seemingly superhuman strength Chris does, Shiva complements him well by being just as aggressive. The one drawback about Shiva's characterization is a lack of a personal arc, since her primary purpose is to aid Chris in his vendetta against Wesker. Still, Shiva's badass style and usefulness in the field can't be underestimated, becoming part of arguably the hardest-hitting pair in the Resident Evil series.
That was for our four brothers.
Rebecca Chambers.
Hope this is what you wanted.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you a shot now, Richard. Hang in there.
The youngest member of the STARS Bravo team, Rebecca is a prodigy who assists Chris in the original Resident Evil. She contrasts with Chris, Jill, and very strong her presence with her sweet demeanor and inexperienced mindset. Rebecca doesn't take charge as much in the first game, but the prequel, Resident Evil 0, reveals that she's been fighting the infected for 2 days straight. Here, Rebecca's team up with Billy Cohen shows her empathetic side, ensuring that Billy walks away as a free man.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Rebecca's a pragmatist in combat, not possessing the physical attributes that Chris and Billy have, and coming up with creative ways to battle the infected. In a world filled with characters with gritty personalities, it's worth having a protagonist as bubbly and cheerful as Rebecca.
I can handle this on my own. And don't call me little girl.
Huh.
This is Nighthawk. Come in, Alpha. Alpha, do you read?
Nighthawk. This is Hunk from Alpha Team.
There's never been a playable character as enigmatic as Hunk, whose backstory is never revealed. He barely qualifies as a protagonist since Hunk has little care for others, having no qualms with leaving his own squad to suffer and save themselves. Hunk's team is sent to retrieve the G-Virus from William Birkin in Resident Evil 2, where he emerges as the sole survivor of Raccoon City's events.
Play Pokemon programs are a place to find people.
His popularity series stems from Punk's silent but dominating presence, with everything from his one-liners to his gas-masked appearance adding to his cool specter. Punk uniquely has no connections with any Resident Evil protagonist, making his campaigns all about survival, which he does better than anyone else. Barry Burke. Let me take care of it. Starting out as Jill's partner in the original Resident Evil, Barry is an ally anyone would want to have. Carrying a massive frame and intimidating appearance, Barry is more of a gentle giant and a character who values loyalty. He also happens to be the first protagonist with a family, with his relationship with his daughter, Moira, detailed in Resident Evil Revelations 2, the first game where he's a playable protagonist.
Oh, come on!
Barry's notable for his gun-wielding and trigger-happy personality, also bringing in hilarious one-liners like the infamous "Sandwich. You were almost a jibble sandwich." Loud and enthusiastic, but caring and considerate as well, Barry makes for a solid partner in each appearance. Ethan Winters. Intending to act as an audience surrogate, Ethan marks a change in the series by being a regular guy forced to fight the infected. The protagonist of first-person entries Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village, Ethan's adventures are credited with returning the franchise to its horror roots. Ethan doesn't have world-saving plans like the other heroes, wanting only to rescue his wonderful daughter. Starting out as an everyman whom audiences can see themselves as, Ethan develops into an action protagonist during Resident Evil Village, taking on terrifying villains for the sake of his family.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. I love you.
His capability within gameplay also progresses from being relatively weak to learning combat skills for the players to utilize. Ethan is the only protagonist with an extended arc from start to finish, achieving his mission of saving his wife and daughter and sacrificing himself. Carlos Oliveira. Carlos wasn't anything special in the original version of Resident Evil 3, but the game's remake carved out a better characterization for him. He's the wisecracking ally of Jill's with the story, as they look to escape Raccoon City before its destruction. Carlos gradually wins Jill's trust over the course of their adventure, proving himself to be a valuable ally who saves her life until he's infected. Go get some! Carlos's penchant for being too on the nose about the things he sees makes him someone who voices out what's on players' minds. Although we don't play as Carlos nearly as much as Jill, his sequences carry a thrilling atmosphere, with Carlos having to mow down hordes of the infected. Despite his one-off appearance, Carlos leaves a lasting impression through his mix of toughness and dedication.
Jill, what happened? Jill, come in. See, I gotta go.
Ada Wong.
We'll find a way out, Mila. Before it's too late.
The only thing that can be said with certainty about Ada is that she trusted. Ada's campaign generally filled the gaps in each story, detailing how she got there, up to the plan. A spy who keeps crossing paths with Leon didn't know how to make anyone trust her with her charm and protection.
I told myself,
Relax, okay? She successfully used her skills to acquire samples of the G-Riders in Resident Evil 2 and the playing Parasite in Resident Evil 4 using Leon's connection. The layers behind Ada's personality are shown, with submission aside to aid Leon, looking at the deceitful and over the top she is. Not even being a stereotypical protagonist, again. Instantly befriending Leon in Raccoon City, Claire extends her attention to Sherry, who sits in danger like a pirate. Sherry's attention to good. Claire's survival prowess is incredible considering she has no formal training as a tenacity of spirit. Claire doesn't have weapons with extra impact, but she possesses greater agility and rapid-fire guns against guns. Unlike the other core heroes, Claire manages to retain her positive outlook even with the near-fatal experiences surrounding infection. Her maternal nature brings out the best in the likes of Sherry and Moira, empowering them to face the dangers around them under Claire's guidance.
Sure? Yeah, I promise.
Chris Redfield. Since when, Wesker? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Since when have they been slipping you a paycheck? Chris is arguably the main protagonist of the entire series, having appeared in the most games by far. Chris can be a little hard to relate to because of his action hero attitude, such as punching boulders and destroying infected with extreme ease. However, Chris is still the face of the franchise, having faced many antagonists like Albert Wesker and heading the Stars and DSAA anti-terrorist teams. He's received the most powerful weapons yet, capable of handling rocket launchers to maximum effect. Chris has shined in both leading and supporting roles, as the character has been successfully adapted to each playable style of the Resident Evil series. Fans have followed him through the highs of taking down corporations like Umbrella, to the lows like Depression and Squad. Through it all, Chris has found ways to rise back up over time.
3 years trying to put this thing in the ground. 3 years too long. Jill Valentine.
The thieves are coming. I'll take care of them. Chris, you just get in contact with Brad somehow.
One of the first action heroines in the Canadian landscape, Jill is the leading figure to come out of the events in Raccoon City. He starts out as part of the Stars team in the original entry before becoming the sole protagonist in Resident Evil 3. Jill is a good representation of the trauma a person would suffer from battling the infected, with her arc dealing with the protagonist summing up the courage to expose Umbrella's creation.
Thanks for watching.
I'm on my way to meet up with Laura and Andy. They have some renovation ideas. What do you love? What do you hate? Are you ready? Thanks today we're going to see for the day.
How do the vegetables along with the money in your organization? Schedule a team with your team. It is easy to share knowledge. I know by this time of the year, the channel pretty much becomes Lego reads articles, and people are going to go out there and say, man, there's no real things to talk about. And that's kind of the point of the off-season, man. There's no news. So we got to go to articles like this one of Colorado Hockey Now for our conversation, because that's kind of like the vibe that I try to bring on this channel is, it's conversational things about hockey. Not really me telling you how smart I am and how good my opinions are, but I'm just kind of going out and saying, hey, look what I read today. This is an interesting topic, isn't it? So that is what we're doing here on this piece as we review this Colorado Hockey Now article published by Adrian Dater. You might remember Adrian Dater as the guy who asked Nathan McKinnon last year, Nate, you know you're a gamer, and yeah, you could fill up the blanks there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But he published this piece earlier in the week about Jonathan Toews asking if he could be a Nazem Kadri replacement for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the last video on the channel was also talking about Nazem Kadri. Long story short, he's a good player. He was a 100-point pace guy for Colorado. He's leaving the team, and he's likely going to sign, let's say, somewhere in New York in the next few days. So, for Jonathan Toews, this is an interesting conversation to open up about him potentially being a Nazem Kadri replacement for this Colorado Avalanche squad that recently won the Stanley Cup. Now, I wanted to read the first few paragraphs of this Adrian Dater article because it does kind of paint a picture as to where he's coming from and kind of gives a little bit of context as to how everything has unfolded this way. I really don't try to clickbait too much because, you know, I have some standards and quaint old journalistic notions that you shouldn't do that. No jokes, please. Hashtag I don't think I can say the same because as a YouTuber, clickbait is part of the art. And yeah, if you're watching the video, it means that the clickbait works. Well, pal, it's July 30th, it's actually August 6th right now, and we're sitting around waiting to see what happens with Nazem Kadri, and this is a website devoted to all things Avalanche. So, there you go, Nazem Kadri, potentially gone, whatever. This is the next paragraph in the piece. First off, I've heard absolutely nothing that this could or will happen. But secondly, Jonathan Toews, captain of the team, does not seem too thrilled with what's going on with the Chicago Blackhawks in the last few months, roster-wise. The team has traded away some really good young players such as Alex DeBrincat, Brandon Hagel, and Trevor Duck in moves that were heavily criticized for not getting enough back. Toews told Mark Lazarus of The Athletic, at the end of the day, we're talking about a 5+ year process, according to Kyle Davidson, the GM. So that part of it doesn't sound appealing to me at all. I can't speak for Patrick Kane, but I definitely feel that the amount of turnover our team has gone through every single year these last 3 or 4 years, that's where it really gets draining and exhausting. Now, those comments are not new. We made a video a few weeks ago talking about what Jonathan Toews said to The Athletic and how he's upset with the way and the direction the Chicago Blackhawks are trending downwards. But at the end of the day, this opens the door to any rumblings of a trade. So, here you have a player who doesn't sound like he wants to be a part of any rebuilding process, who doesn't seem to be having any talks whatsoever about signing an extension with the Blackhawks, who has 1 year left in his contract at $10.5 million a season, who will be a UFA after this coming season. Sounds like a guy who, if I'm Avalanche GM Chris McFarland anyway, I might be interested in as a possible replacement for Kadri, who remains unsigned. I wonder if Jonathan Toews might waive that full no move, no trade clause to come to the defending Stanley Cup champions who might have an opening at second line center. And then there is the whole, okay, if you wanted to make sure you could fit Toews under the cap, you would trade him at a 50% salary retained and send away another player to a roster player that is over to Chicago to make sure that you actually can make the money work in order for Toews to play with his younger brother, Devon. Now, that last part is a joke because they're not actually brothers, but it's kind of funny that they do have the same last name in the same way. The rest of the piece pretty much goes over the fit, whether or not it actually would be a scenario that would work out. Chicago, though, has a very strange situation, and as a result, you have players like James Toews that are at the forefront of discussions like these seemingly every other day. It's no secret that Jonathan Toews has been a very accomplished and very competent hockey player in the past. It's just this recent season definitely did not see the highlights of his career. I mean, he had 37 points in 71 games played. I get it, he's coming back after a season where he didn't play at all, so let's give him a pass here for a second. But Toews is 34 years old, and he definitely isn't in the prime of his career, quote-unquote, anymore. This article brings up the idea saying that, hey, Jonathan Toews might actually bring a very good presence, he's a true competitor, he's got leadership skills, he's a good face-off guy. He might not be the most productive player offensively, but would his presence be too much on a team that just won a Stanley Cup? I doubt it. I bet Toews would come in and just defer to Gabe Landeskog and be one of the boys. That actually is a pretty interesting idea as well. The idea of Jonathan Toews coming over to a team like Chicago and no longer having to be, quote-unquote, the guy. He's been the captain of the Blackhawks ever since 08-09. So that is literally over a decade of being the captain of an NHL team. He knows a thing or two about being a leader on the ice and talking to the referees about calls and all that stuff. So him potentially going to a team like Colorado where he's no longer the quote-unquote big dog, it is an interesting idea.
Craving your next adventure? With Avion, get the flights you want at the points you expect, even at the last minute. Switch to our...
Yeah, it does pose itself the philosophy that says that, hey, maybe Toews under a more reduced role. actually get a few more points, could actually play a little bit more relaxed, and actually be a little bit more effective than he had been when he was the mainstay guy in Chicago. Now, this is where the article gets interesting. Who would the Blackhawks get in return? Well, first off, Adrian Jeter does not expect it would be Sam Girard. He wrote a couple of weeks or so ago that, based off of his understanding of things, he is not being offered by the Avalanche to clear cap space for Kadri or anyone else. JT Compher? Yeah, I can see it. He's an Illinois native who grew up a big Blackhawks fan with 1 year left in his deal before he goes to UFA status. His $3.5 million cap space would, in fact, open up enough room for Jonathan Toews, assuming Chicago needs a good portion of his salary. Now, that's unfortunately it. That's all that Adrian Tater goes out there and says could be a possible return piece, and I'm sure Blackhawks fans will be outraged if that's all they've got for a franchise icon, but they don't have a lot of leverage here. He's a 34-year-old guy who has seen better days with a monster cap hit, who could go anywhere he wants after this coming season. Now, to me personally, if you're going to trade Jonathan Toews 1-for-1 for JT Compher of all people, while I was a very big fan of everything Compher did in the postseason for Colorado this recent Stanley Cup victory, I mean, look, you're not trading away JT Compher for Jonathan Toews. Maybe in terms of the on-ice value and what these players are actually worth when it comes to their dollar amounts and the amount of points they get, it is an equal conversation. Compher is 27 years old. He had 33 points in 70 games last year, which is very similar to what Jonathan Toews did, actually, albeit a little bit worse. But I think the biggest argument against this idea is just, Jonathan Toews is Jonathan Toews. Would you really trade somebody that's been that important to your franchise for nothing? I mean, this isn't Vegas we're dealing with here. They're not trading Ray Pacioretty and Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing again. This is Chicago, and to be fair, Chicago has been very fishy in the past few years as well when it comes to how they're run, but at the same time, I mean, you're pulling my leg if you try to convince me that they would do it again, right? Jonathan Toews for JT Compher, that's it? I'm not really too sure. Maybe on paper it actually works out, and this is a move that actually could provide some significant value for either team involved, but at the end of the day, JT Compher was a pretty good player for Colorado in the postseason, and Jonathan Toews still is a shell of his former self.
What's going on, guys? I'm excited to make the first episode of my new franchise series. We're taking Arizona Coyotes and trying to rebuild them to the Stanley Cup champion. As you guys on both YouTube and Twitter, with me to feed. And YouTube guys say thank you guys so much for voting. 8,500 votes, actually a little over that. And almost half of you chose Arizona. So, pretty easy decision there. It's on Twitter. Send the results. And look like guys, this really franchise here. It takes a couple seconds to like. It really helps me out. I think everyone knows Arizona's not a very good team, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge here for us. But recently, Ottawa actually took over last place. Having said that, you can see Arizona having much worse goal differential. Also, too, not only on paper, but also Arizona's roster is a lot worse. Now, even though their roster is pretty terrible, the good thing is there's actually a lot of flexibility with it. Right now, you guys can see on tap in front of me just how many draft and later years, you get multiple big rounds there. Also, to look at the forwards, you can see only a couple guys are actually signed past this season. I think most well done showing guys injured. Defensively, it's a similar scenario. Both these guys are done after this year. So there's a lot of freedom flexibility heading into this franchise. They can do whatever they want. Now, before we get to the franchise, guys want to see players, some of the good players that they for all the athletes. So a lot of these guys that had last name from 1-1, I just had to make it that to the Gallup franchise. Got Bobby Briggs. that Lucas or Holloway, that Levi worked on Sutherland. The race here is so absolutely, one of the yet, but trying to make the franchise look even more difficult. The front half player has been assigned to their mentality. The goalie, he's pretty good overall. He's got the absolute lowest stats possible. Unfortunately, I don't think for this contract here, but he's signed at $10 million for the next 10 years. So basically, there's an internal cap here, there's mentality. We're always going to be spending $10 million for the salary max. So I don't think it makes the franchise more challenging, but also I think it's actually more realistic because everyone is not spending the salary cap max. If you still lose Stanley Cup, with completely rebuilding the team while also spending $10 million over the salary max, that was pretty impressive. I haven't known the central guy to drop the rating a bit, no longer top 5 projection, more like top 10, not top 15. So some of these also there's X factors on it. You can actually add a lot of X factors to the top prospect. Not only my favorite players, but also a bunch of top prospects in your life, whether they're young guys in the NHL like Trevor Zegras or Lucas Raymond, for instance, or the guys like Shane Wright on the third. Logan Cooley here going to the top 5 on a lot of X factors on him. So I'm going to try to deeper into this guy, show you all their stats and everything. In another video, I'll just showing my complete custom roster, but I want to spend too much time on that for this video. It's more about the franchise and the season, what teams added, and the Penguins will do a top 10 this year's draft. How they appreciate it, Ottawa's added, and they're all making all the X factors. Each top here, you guys are going to do tons of X factors, pretty much all teams. Love it, just spending. I want those